Sony is making a car. Yeah, they're coming out with the electric car.
And look at
Uh,
you with a fucking Sony PlayStation shirt on, you shill.
yeah, well, considering the fact that I'm about to buy an Xbox, Series X in the near future, and I don't, and the last PlayStation I have was from the PS4. So,
You're a traitor.
uh, hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host today, Joe, and with me, the man who likes to dress up his dolls as dolls to be, from Nier Automata, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
That's not true. I dress up my dolls as other things too.
Completely caught you off guard on that one, didn't I?
Pretty much. I don't know. That's so far afield. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. I
I
dress up
mean,
my dolls as GI Joe and Barbie and Ava and I don't know. Something
you're the only person I know to own 5 real dolls, so I mean that's pretty impressive.
I
But it
own.
explains where all your paychecks go.
I
So
own Berserk. I own the 4 Cowboy Bebop, and I own the Shield Hero. So that's 6. I own 6.
they're called action figures.
They're called
Um,
they're called they're called figures. Yeah, that's true. They're not really action figures. They're not really moving around. But they're
no,
really
I
cool.
forgot what that was from, but it was just an old. I just remember an old TV show or something like that growing up, where it's like, "Mom, they're not dolls; they're action figures." Uh,
Yeah, that's a pretty good scam that they got going for us little kids, whenever we were kids. Calling them action figures, but I don't dress them up. They come with their own costumes, so I don't have to dress them up, and I don't dress them up as 2B. Uh, Even though I love 2B, 2B is great, and it's in the mail. It'll be here in like 3 months, but it's whatever. It's
I
whatever,
know you
man.
love it so much. You even got a mouse pad.
I didn't get a mouse pad. Somebody got me a mouse pad.
Yes, you
Some
should show it off, man. You should be more proud of it. I
some sh-
mean,
some shitbag fuckhead got me a mouse pad. I really appreciate the mouse pad. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I still have it.
you should use it, man.
I
I mean,
should
it's there
not
to be
use it.
used.
I should use it at work. You think that
I
would
think
go over
HR might
well?
have a
Yeah.
question or two for you on that one, but
Oh, they'd have more than a couple questions. Yeah, they would have a field day. I think that's what that's called. I'm doing okay, Joe. Not that you asked, but how are you doing?
yeah, I'm all right.
You've been better. I know.
I
But
mean, it is so today is Friday the 13th.
you're right.
Nothing special. Nothing special happened for us. Work was kind of on fire, which was kind of funny, but it's just like that's actually pretty normal. So I was just like, all right, well, I guess nothing else. So other people are like, no, man, it's a lucky day, dude. It's the you got the lotto drawing and stuff, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like that Chicago Lotto drawing is going on like every other month now. It's like up to like 1.3 billion or something.
Yeah, that happens. I think what they did is a year or so ago, they ended up restructuring it to make it harder to win. And by doing so, within the last 9 months, they've already hit like $1 billion like 3 times. So
Ah, because more people are putting more into it probably because it goes
yeah,
up
but the
higher every
last
time.
couple people who won is like a single winner. So it's like,
Jeez.
hey, good. It's like good for you. I mean, you're set.
I wouldn't even know what to do with $1 billion. Like, I mean, sure I could figure it out after not very long, but man, that is so much money. Even like half that or 40% of that, which the government's going to take like 60%, but even like 40% of that is pretty good. $400 million is not too bad, but 1.3 out of 1.3, I don't know what that would be like 50
I
or
refer to that as
500
boat
million.
money. Money, because I will never own a boat, but I was just like,
Boat money.
man,
You need $1 billion in order to be able to buy a boat.
to justify having a nice boat and just paying, it's like a property that you'll just lose consistently. There's like zero uptick in value. Yeah, just if I want to throw my money away, getting a boat and having fun on the water is the way to do it, I guess.
Hey, you know that Joe guy? Yeah. Yeah, he's a boat guy now. Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't imagine that. He won the lottery. Oh, good. He's a boat guy, huh? Yeah. Yeah.
What the accent is that,
That's
man?
how you people talk. You up there?
I'm not sure if you're trying to go for a Uber accent, a
You.
Chicago accent. I
It's
have
all the
no idea.
same. Hey, the Bears, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. That's from SNL. The Mike Ditka.
The Bulls.
Uh,
The Cubs.
man, I'm
Sorry.
surprised you know that. Surprised you know that skit.
That's who was that? Farley, or was who else was in that skit?
Chris Farley and I think Dan Aykroyd,
And didn't they get
possibly.
Ditka? Didn't they get Mike Ditka on there one time? I don't.
That wouldn't surprise me at all either.
Anyway,
But yeah, so no, things are all right. I assume your Friday the 13th went pretty well, considering the fact that you didn't even realize it was until I mentioned.
I knew it was Friday the 13th. I just didn't think about it
Sure.
today. I thought about it last week. I was like, oh, Friday the 13th is coming up. That's cool. And then I changed the date on our docket. A little bit of inside baseball there for you people following along with the podcast. I changed the date on our docket, and I realized it was Friday the 13th then too.
Sure, whatever helps you sleep better at night, buddy.
Go ahead. What's the next segment, Joe?
Well, hopefully you got something good for us on the news. I mean,
I don't have good
you know,
news. I don't have good news. Do you have good news? I don't have good news.
mine's a little more lighthearted, more commercialism, but you on the other hand are like the pinnacle of rage, I guess. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
I'll go into this a little bit. I'm not gonna rant as much as I did earlier. So Joe, let me get it out of my system, and we're not gonna post it.
I
But
mean, you do all the editing you want to, my
I will
friend.
do all the editing when I'm nice and sober in the morning. But it's about Dungeons and Dragons. It's not video games per se, though it is sort of tangentially related because it's games. But yeah, so when we first got on the call before we started recording, I started ranting to Joe about what's going on with Dungeons and Dragons. So I'll try to keep this to a bit of a minimum. So last time, 2 weeks ago, I started talking about the OGL. I don't really know too much about it 2 weeks ago, but now I know a lot more. So, Dungeons and Dragons or Wizards of the Coast, that owns Dungeons and Dragons, they sent out a document called the OGL 1.1. That's Open Games License. The old Open Games License is like from like 2004, 2001, somewhere around there. It's been around for like 20 years. And what it does is it allows third parties to make content for D&D. And then D&D is basically saying, we won't sue you for helping provide, extra content for us. So that's been going on for 20 years. Well, if you can do the math, in 2000 the internet was not what it is now. It was not high speed. They did not have like high speed HD video. YouTube was non-existent. Didn't really come into being until 2006. So now you have a lot of different companies making content for D&D. Some of those companies are making millions of dollars, like Critical Role. Makes a ton of money, and there's plenty of other home games, and a lot of things like that. So what they have decided to do, is they have decided to make an update to the OGL. So the old OGL is 900 words long. The new one, the 1.1, in its previous state, to the up to the minute information. But the one that they sent out to everybody was 9,000 words. So 900 words to 9,000 words. Has a lot more information in it. Has a lot more rules in it. And basically, what the OGL 1.1 was going to do is it was going to take away the ability for third parties to make anything that that they weren't already contracted with Wizards of the Coast to do. So only a few parties have contracts, and 90%. I don't know. I'm just throwing that number out there. A lot of other companies don't have any kind of contract, so they were just going to be left out in the cold. So a lot of people have been getting very angry on the internet. Oh, people are angry on the internet. Well, yeah, people are always angry about something on the internet, but I think that it'd be fair to say that 95%, maybe 99% of the active D&D community galvanized pretty quickly after the OGL 1.1 NDAs were up, which was sometime last week, I think last Thursday, somewhere around there. And people were able to talk about it openly. And the OGL 1.1 was sent out for different companies to sign. So it was definitely something that they were expecting to really put into the works. Now they're saying that those were drafts, and it's like, well, a draft is something a little different, but it clearly was not a draft. It was clearly meant to be put out to get people to sign it and abide by it. So people got mad, and pretty much every single outlet that I see that I can see has been freaking out about it and railing against it. Now, what WotC has done is they have.
What's WotC for those who don't know?
So WotC is Wizards of the Coast, and they own and operate Dungeons and Dragons, and Wizards of the Coast is owned and operated by Hasbro. So a little bit of backstory here. Hasbro has, from what I've heard, their stock has taken like a 40% dip in the past year. So they are looking for ways to make more money. A lot of my friends have been following along with what's going on with Magic. And if you've been watching what's been going on with Magic, they have been, there's been a lot of problems with the way Magic's being run. They're putting out card packs that are like, I think like the 30th anniversary was like $1,000, and it was like possible to get cards that were just worthless. So they've been screwing up Magic. Long story short, they've been screwing up Magic for a little while, and now they're kind of coming after D&D. They've even said in some stuff that they think that the D&D community is under monetized. They want to monetize it more like an actual video game, or like the way video games are monetized. So it's it started for the community pretty big, and people were pretty mad about it. So since yesterday, they were scheduled to have some sort of announcement yesterday, but it was a regularly scheduled live stream. Well, they canceled that. They canceled that because there was a lot of people watching, and they were clearly not ready. So I think today it was just today they put out a notice basically backpedaling, saying, hey, the OGL is the thing that you saw was a draft, and we're going to redo it and do some different things. And so the OGL that was coming was called the OGL 1.1. And now they pulled that back, and they're talking about doing what they're calling the OGL 2.0. So it's going to be, it's pretty similar from what we understand. They're circling the wagons. We still don't have a full picture of what's going on, but so I run a small group of people, or I'm a small group of people, and we take turns running D&D campaigns, and we have pretty much unanimously decided to switch to a different rule set. I think a lot of people are doing that. A lot of big companies, or big third-party companies, I guess you would say, big YouTube personalities, have canceled their D&D Beyond subscriptions, and they're encouraging others to do the same in order to send a message. And yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. I know I've been talking for a while. So I'll shut up. But it's a big kerfuffle, and long story short, we're still waiting on final word, but it definitely seems kind of like the die is cast, and things are not looking good at D&D.
Yeah, they ended up, trying to pull off with their last legal bit. They're like, yeah, uh it's not really it's not just a win, like people are going to say
Yeah,
like
I saw
the
that. Yep.
players won and got together, but it's actually a win for both of us because, they're like I said, it's part of that whole backpedaling. And then immediately you'll see the top comments being like, yeah, if this was such a draft, why did it have to have signatures assigned to it? And there was a time limit assigned to it.
There were
Like if that was
contracts.
just a draft.
Yeah, it wasn't a draft contract. It was a contract sent out to people. And
Also, was it? I saw a good meme today on Reddit, and it was just, it's like the school bus crossing the railroad tracks and saying like the school bus is Wizard of the Coast trying to pull a fast one through obscure legal documents, and then the train smashing into the school bus saying a community that spends yeah, an obscene amount of time reading and interpreting legalities and rules.
100%.
So
Yeah, they mess with the wrong people. Like it is it's wild. They they're I don't know that they're part of me thinks that in the long run they still can win. They can still get everything they want and screw over the player base as much as they want, because they're going to always have the money and the name behind them to pull in new players. There's a new 13-year-old, there's a new batch of 13-year-olds every year who are going to be interested in getting into this, and they're going to play. And the rest of us are going to get older and go on our own games, and we're not going to have the same level of marketing and all that stuff. So to me, it's kind of just a matter of time before they can implement what they want. But in the meantime, I haven't canceled my D&D Beyond subscription yet. I am, I don't know. I need to check into it and make sure that I don't lose the content that I have to keep my game going, because that's paramount. That's the most important thing to me. But as soon as I can, I probably will, because like I don't see a way around it. Like they've shown what they want to do. They've told us we want to monetize you to death. We want to kill all the VTTs, and we want everyone to be pushed to our VTT. And I
virtual tabletops, right?
thank
That's
you.
what
Yeah.
VTT stands
So,
for.
sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
I should explain that. So VTT stands for virtual tabletop. It's playing a board game online essentially, and that's what they want to do, and in the long run. So if you want to use something other than what they've put forward, which they haven't yet, they have a virtual tabletop called One D&D coming. It's not out yet, but if you don't want to use that, or you're afraid of using that, or it's not good enough for you, but you still want to play D&D, well, you're going to be out of luck in the long run. Eventually, they will clamp down on a 2.1 or 2.5 or 3.0, whatever they want to call it, of the OGL, and your campaign, which may or may not last 4 years and may or may not be in the middle of it, you're going to be SOL, and you're going to have to switch in the middle. So it's like, so I'm just thinking like, why don't I just say F it and switch now and save myself the trouble? So everyone in my group is looking at Pathfinder, and saying, hey, Pathfinder is pretty close, it's pretty good, and everyone's looking at the rule sets and saying, oh, and we have a Discord chat going. Everyone's like saying, oh, on Pathfinder you can do this, and on Pathfinder you can do that. And I'm kind of like, well, it remains to be seen. I need to look at it some more, but I mean, like, the die is cast. Like what are we supposed to do but move on? Because D&D has shown what they want to do. So to stay would be stupid. To stay and wait for them to corner you into the the OGL and the open D&D. It's like, what do we really want to, like, why are we waiting around? So Anyway, that's kind of the long and short of it. And it's a big mess. But even like things like Critical Role, they released a statement today that was a big old nothing burger. They just like, we support people who create stuff, and we made our own game company because we support people who create stuff. And the subtext was like, but D&D pays us a shitload of money to run our game. So, what they do in the long run, if they dip, then it'll be a bad look for D&D. But I don't know what's going to happen in the long run. But in the short run, people are pissed. That's for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Then this will, you know, most definitely take a while to unfold. I mean, they haven't come out. It'll be a while before they come back to that 2.0 that for OpenGL. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll
yeah,
see.
and I'm sure you'll be on top of it. So we'll hear back from you at that point.
Yeah, I think
All right.
probably by next week or by next time we do this podcast in 2 weeks, there'll probably be more answers. I would guess. Um, I would hope. But in the meantime, that's really all we can really do is just wait.
Okay. Well, on a lighter news, CES had gone on the last since last podcast, and there's uh, CES is one of the biggest industry events for all sorts of technology. The It covers everything from houseware to video games and equipments, just anything under the sun.
What is
I
CES? Computer Entertainment? Uh, Never mind. Well, what does CS stand for?
all right. I had just it slipped my mind too. The moment you said
if
computer,
I hadn't
and
asked,
like,
if I hadn't asked, you would know. That's why I asked.
uh, yeah. Well, I should have known, and now I'm fucking drawing a blank on myself too. I guess I could look it up too, but it's more fun if I don't. Um,
Yeah. Checking things on a podcast is
Checking
bullshit.
facts,
Checking
whatever,
facts.
man. I mean, but yeah. So what happens is, like every year they end up bringing up new and cool tech, or just really weird, obscure stuff. Like this year, talked about a flying car. You know,
Okay.
So it's like, all right, they have the really neat concepts. I think last year, was the BMW that had the ink. Um, uh, it had the kind of like the liquid ink paint, so you can go from black to white to gray, like, and it was in a weird shape pattern. So it was everyone's like, "Oh yeah, of course." So that way you can commit crime and then switch the color of your car. Um, yeah.
Cool.
So they do a lot of neat concepts during that point. So what happened around this time was, uh, they ended up, for me, like, it's always about, new monitors or new hardware for as far as the gaming space goes, and there's a bunch of new monitors. OLED has now finally made it big as far as, in a monitor form, so now you don't have to necessarily game with a 43 or 48 inch, OLED TV, and
That's good.
yeah. I mean, well, this coming from the guy there who just bought himself a new OLED TV.
Yeah, but I want monitor. I was talking to a guy at work, and he was like, "Man, I got this OLED TV as my monitor, but it's so big. It's like 42 inches." And I was like, "Is that the C2, the LG C2?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's the one." And I was like, "Yeah, that's. I see what you got that, but it is too big to have like a foot and a half in front of your face. You need something a little smaller to fit your eye width."
Yeah, it's all about the spacing there for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so there's the uh essentially LG. Let's see, it was LG, Samsung. You have Asus. They're all coming out with essentially different 1440p OLEDs actually. So not even doing 4K. But on the other side, they're also doing, but being an OLED, they have the full HDR range, and they're making them rough. A lot of them are now going to be 240 hertz. So You got incredibly
So
fast OLED with, great contrast ratios now because it's an OLED, and, they're in the 27-inch form
okay,
factor.
27-inch.
Uh,
So, like,
yeah, 27-inch 1440p.
is, when you get to 27 inches, is 4K sort of redundant? Like, does 1440p work better at that price range, um, than like a 4K would at a higher price range? Or is it just about price, but just about getting the price a little bit lower than what people ask
You're
for?
looking at these things. No, these things are gonna be about a grand.
Okay.
The thing is they're big because they're able to make OLED at such a small, it's I can't quite say for sure on the manufacturing process, but what's gonna happen is more people can run a 1440, p, monitor.
On their
Just that's
GPU.
full stop on
Okay.
their GPU.
Okay.
Also a lot of, consoles can, respond to it easier because despite what they want you to believe, Xbox and PlayStation aren't necessarily the 4K powerhouses that they want you to, you know,
Think that they are.
they and so, but by being able to have a higher refresh rate, and also having, like the Christmas of OLED, a proper HDR setting, HDR, it's arguable. You can argue the fact that a good HDR screen is actually more impressive than the jump from 1440 to 4K. Um, it's like depending if you get that proper contrast ratio. So it's debatable.
I would
But you're
say
getting kind of
I would say that, like, even watching, anime at 1080 on my OLED is beautiful because it's so bright and vibrant. Um, yeah, it'd be better if it was higher resolution, but the vibrancy is what really, you know, makes it pop.
yeah. And so having a good OLED, having a small, a proper monitor form factor. I mean, it's just a win-win all around. And granted, yeah, these new ones are going to be price pointed around a grand. So I know, so
Oh
like,
wow. Okay.
Asus Predator, that one's supposed to be at 1100. There's the ROG Swift that hasn't been priced, but it's probably going to be more than just a little bit above a grand. LG's is going to be supposed to be set at a grand too. So I mean, that's the new price point. Uh, but honestly, I think that's fair for the current technology.
So
Uh,
I know that I'm just a filthy casual, but like, who needs 240 hertz?
Anyone who wants a decent quality image while still playing competitive, like that's the thing is a lot of people who want to do better looking game while having actual competitive grade hardware. You're talking about Apex,
Yeah.
um, Valorant games like that. I mean,
Yeah.
they have a good crisp look to them,
Uh-huh.
and you don't necessarily have to run a 10, but you got people who play CS:GO, and so they'll
I
be doing
guess.
a
Yeah.
traditionally like 1080p monitor, but running at obscenely high frame rates.
I guess.
That's you and I aren't part of the competitive scene, so it doesn't really pertain
But I
to
mean,
us.
what percent of the market is really in, like, to me it's like, maybe I'm just more realistic than your average gamer, but it's like 144 hertz. If that saves me some, 200 bucks or whatever, I would rather have that than 240 hertz or even 120 hertz. If that saves me some money, I don't think I'm going to be able to outperform that with my
But
eyes.
you're looking at a different tier of product. That's the thing here. You're looking at an old like if you're looking at an OLED product, um, I mean, you're automatically pricing yourself in a different bracket altogether.
So the OLED, it's like we're already we're already up high because of the OLED, and we can give you 240 hertz as a bonus.
I mean,
But we're in OLED land, so
if you're gonna
it's
be
going to be a
standing next
grand.
to, like, yeah, if you're looking at uh two different OLED products and they're gonna be relatively priced around the same, you're at the point you're wanting the best of a certain type of thing.
Okay.
So why wouldn't you? But also that means you probably have the equipment to really run these at a great
Higher
pace.
frame rate
So
at
I
1440.
mean,
I
anyone who
suppose.
has a last gen GPU, the 3070 Ti or higher easily can do 1440p at a really good settings all across the board. So anyone who has anything newer as well,
Okay. Wow.
and you can then crank a game like it's easier to do something like The Witcher, hands down, but also even like Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, a lot of these games still are difficult to run at super high settings
Right.
at 4K,
Yeah.
but at 1440p, you crank those settings up, you can make it look amazing, arguably better than 4K because you can, depending on how much detail and extra things you're getting in there. And then with DLSS in there, you can then um,
It
run them
just
at lower frame or lower quality, but then it'll artificially bump it up for you,
yeah.
and you get better
It just
it's
you're just not getting as many pixels, but like everything else that you could care about is better. Especially with the OLED. There's because like pixels aren't everything.
well,
That's
plus
just
when it's
easier for people
in
to.
motion, that's what you think that's the key part, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're the fluidity of it is gonna be way better. So, as far as yes, your still image, you stand there, take a photo, that may not be as good, but everything else will be. So, like,
Yeah.
you're making up for in different ways.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, so that's like I said, it's exciting news to the fact that OLEDs are coming down to a proper size, and that way people don't have to use TVs.
It is.
Um,
It is still a pretty penny though. That's $1,100 is still a good amount of money for a 27-inch monitor. Um,
yeah, that's about right for an average 4K monitor, a decent quality one now as well. I mean, they're finally starting to drop a little bit under. You're still looking at like $700-800 for 4K at decent refresh. But once again, this is OLED here we're talking about. So you're getting that's the problem is if you do an IPS panel, you're not getting the black levels that you wouldn't get nowhere near as good black levels.
no, yeah,
So this you get true black because each you're talking about proper dimming zones because each pixel's individually lit. So yeah, this is most definitely a different class of product.
it is nice. Yeah.
I like my TV, but unfortunately, my TV is too old. It doesn't have VRR for my OLED, but it still looks good on my PS4.
Right.
It's just unfortunately like I don't get a lot of the extra benefits of the variable refresh rate. So, uh, but yeah, that was one of the big things that happened. Razer finally went ahead and talked a little bit more about the Razer Edge, which is their handheld, their version of the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch essentially. This thing
Yeah.
is a $400 price tag, comes out at the end of the month, like the 26th. So at least that's what it's targeting.
Do you see this being successful?
I it will make it's kind of hard because Steam Deck's already out there, and I think
Yeah.
uh that's gonna be the number one comparison. I mean, you're not gonna compare it to the Switch. You're gonna be comparing it to the Steam Deck. And I don't know, it's just once rubber hits the road, we get some proper reviews out of it. It could be a strong competitor. There's some Chinese knockoffs to the Steam Deck that aren't terrible. But it depends what Razer has a lot of money to throw at it, so they might be able to pull out an interesting aspect. Honestly, deep end of the day, though, I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll actually pull out some interesting advances. Maybe is the best way to put that. Like some they might make it some stuff maybe a new norm. And hey, just the more people getting into the space, probably the better because that way the next iteration of the Steam Deck will be that much better, right? And if they ever make a sequel to the Edge, then that can only get that much better. That's kind
Because
of what I'm looking at.
because it was like the Nvidia Shield a couple years ago. Nvidia Shield, and that was supposed to be like supposed to play your PC games, right?
Well, the Shield also does it's like a standalone unit that kind of works as a remote access.
That's more what it is.
Um,
It's more just like a remote play of the games that are already playing on your that they're actually running on your PC and they're just being transmitted to your shield. But so yeah.
Consumer Electronics Show. That's what it is. Okay, sorry, I
Oh,
had to
we
interrupt
got
you
it.
there.
We got there.
Like I said, the moment you asked, my mind went blank, and yeah, but it makes it more entertaining when you remember it.
Oh, what a great callback, Joe. What a great
Okay,
callback.
so what were you saying again? Because I no
Doesn't
longer remember.
doesn't fucking matter. No, the Nvidia Shield was just a remote play for the games you were running on your PC already. So it's a different thing. It doesn't really matter in this context, but yeah, I haven't looked at the Razer Edge. It seems like it might be kind of cool. $400 is about the same, right, as like the lowest tier of the Steam Deck. Is that right?
Honestly, I'd never even looked at the Steam Deck. Like it was more on your radar than it was mine.
It was.
Mostly because I knew I wasn't going to play it. That's
I mean, I definitely
because I
checked
just
on
don't
it.
get around to it.
Like it was
Yeah,
like I think it was like 400, and then like every iteration, there was 3 iterations, and every one went up like $100.
yeah.
For like hard drive
I just
size and
remember when
stuff
I
like
first
that.
looked at it, I'm like, I would probably just go all out and pay for the largest hard
Oh
drive.
yeah, yeah.
That was the only thing. Like to
Well,
have the cheaper models.
the cheapest model was like slower and stuff,
Hmm.
and had a smaller hard drive. So it was like, well, if you go for this, then and you're not a sucker, you're probably going to want at least to get the middle tier, so you have that speedier drive or speedier RAM or whatever. But maybe I guess Razer thinks that they can make a little bit of money here. Hopefully they can do something kind of good for the PC gaming space.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't hurt anyone else for them to try, so they might as well.
Yeah.
And then just the last stupid slash fun bit of news was Sony is making a car. Yeah, they're coming out with the electric car.
And look at
Uh,
you with a fucking Sony PlayStation shirt on, you shill.
yeah, well, considering the fact that I'm about to buy an Xbox, Series X in the near future, and and the last PlayStation I have was from the PS4, so
You're a traitor.
uh, I play both sides of the fence. Uh, I can care less about like brand loyalty at the end of the day.
I
Um,
know.
uh, though I can tell you one thing, I've only had to go through one PS3, and during that time I had gone through seven 360s.
Yeah.
Only two survived. The rest of them all failed.
Man, I would love to see like the actual, net net profit and loss or whatever for Sony and for Xbox, or rather for PlayStation and for Xbox during that time, because I'm sure it would be very telling. I know Sony ended up kind of catching up to them toward the end. Anyway, so yeah, so they're making a Sony and Honda's. They're making a car. It's supposed to come out when?
It's supposed to come out in 2028. It's
Oh,
called the Afila. And it's allegedly gonna hit North America first. Um,
oh.
yeah,
Well, this says
but I don't know, man.
2026. 2028 or 2026. Which one?
Oh, then it might be 2026. My bad.
Okay.
It's whatever's on the docket is the correct one.
Okay.
Um,
Well, we
so
can.
yeah,
It's supposed to be an electric car. Is that right?
yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, I'd be surprised if it came out. I just, I just don't believe it personally. I'm just like, yeah, it's more of a fun concept.
Well,
It looks
what's weird is that Sony and Honda are coming together on this. Is that right?
well, it's not really that unusual because
Okay.
as an electronics company, as a company that isn't molded to like set up to actually make a vehicle, they're gonna have to partner with a vehicle to actually make it under their branding. Who else better for a Japanese company to go with a Japanese car manufacturer?
Makes
I
sense.
mean, they like to keep things in house, as it were. And I mean, honestly, I can see that same thing going with Microsoft if they were trying to do something like that stateside. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
Microsoft
they,
and Ford or GM or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. If that would be the track they'd do is, in that case, because you want your corporate business to, try to profit the best. But at the same time, I think Microsoft would do something weird like, if anyone, they'd be like, "Yeah, we're gonna go with Ferrari," or something like that just to really throw, but no, Sony, the Japanese companies, like, most definitely gotta have the national pride because 'cause they'd get flayed alive and, on their market if they went with, like, a US company or something like they're like, they'd look at them as, traitors, essentially. But
Yeah,
no, it's a neat concept look, but, as all concept cars, they just always look funky as anything.
yeah,
Um, how practical will it actually come out? I'm not holding my breath. If
yeah.
they do, that's neat. I mean,
We'll
I
see.
don't know,
Yeah,
anything to go against Tesla just to once again, more competition on different fronts, it can only go better, in theory.
yeah. I don't
So,
know. I mean, going up against Tesla has been a losing proposition for a lot of different companies so far, but they're still going to keep trying. We'll see what they do. Maybe it'll be interesting.
yeah, for sure. Alright, yeah, outside of that, there wasn't really much else at CES that really caught my eye. There's, still just I'd recommend if you've never bothered looking at it, just do a quick, best of, search through their stuff, and you'll see some really wild tech. I mean, they do there's always stuff in the VR space or, AR, it's always something. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. And,
Yeah,
yeah, that was about this news has been pretty light this last couple weeks,
it
you
has.
know, and I know you've pretty much ignored the whole world just to focus on D&D, so
Dude, it is so freaking earth-shattering though. It is a definitely the biggest thing that's going on right now. And it just it cannot be ignored. But I always forget about CES. It comes out around this time of year and I never think about it until somebody like you or one of the podcasts.
it kicks off the new year. That's always the thing. It's just like, "Hey, you just got done with, with the holiday season, and now the new circuit begins." So,
I don't think in those terms, but I'm glad that you do. Because you're a true gamer and I'm just a pretender. Yeah. So, but thanks for bringing that to us. Yeah, actually, the LG 27-inch actually does make a little more sense at a grand. But it's not in the cards for
yeah,
me right now. But I'm
alright.
excited for that stuff.
Well, sometimes we actually talk about video games too, and so here to talk about the game he's been playing, Nick, what do you got, man?
Uh, so I dabbled into Metal Hellsinger. Um, it's a good game. I think you'd like it. Like I told you a little while ago, it is a prior to the cast, it is a rhythm game. I didn't know anything about it before I came into it. I was like, well, okay. So I just fired it up and I was like, oh, this is a rhythm game. If you don't like metal uh, as a musical genre, then you're probably not gonna like this game because it's all about metal music and demons and stuff. But in a weird way, it reminds me of Doom, but like a rhythm Doom game. You have a sword that they give you first, and then you have like a basically like it's a skull, but it's you can treat it like a pistol. I don't. You'll have to play the game to understand what that means. And then they give you a shotgun, and you get bonuses for being in time, for shooting in time, and reloading in time. And then there's like you press R3 to do like a style kill or whatever. Whenever that prompt comes up, and I'm shit at rhythm games, as you well know, Joe. But this game is
You're very bad.
I'm bad. I'm bad. But this game is still really fun. And as much as I played of it, which was not a whole lot, but I really think that you're gonna like it when you play it. I'm not gonna say you're
So,
gonna.
yeah, I've actually tried playing this, but unfortunately, yeah, my little one is, currently going through, some teething and some growing pains, so they're sleeping very lightly lately, and So yeah,
They're
I literally like,
sleeping.
okay, let's check this out. Let's downloaded it, got to the menu screen, like let's check out these option settings, and then I had to go answer my child, and then eventually when I finally got him back down to sleep, came back downstairs. But all right, let's check this out again. All right, let's start this thing up, and then I had to go answer them again because they're like, nope, you're not playing at all tonight, and they've been
Oh,
that way pretty much this whole week. They're like, nope, you're not having very much of any time for yourself. Um, so yeah, that's been my life, and unfortunately, I didn't get like it's right there. It's just
it's right there.
I have a total of like half an hour of away time on this game.
Well, I will say that you get into this game and it's not very long before you are like playing it proper. There's a little bit of preamble setup and some stuff like that. And there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it does a pretty good job of teaching you what you're doing. And the metal, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of metal. I like it okay, but I'm not the biggest fan. And I liked this metal. And they even have like once you there's like a certain level you have to get or a certain level you have to maintain with your rhythm and hitting the buttons at the right time um, before the lyrics will kick in. So you can like hear like the music and the beat. And maybe that's just to help you or whatever to focus on the beat so you can actually play the game properly. But once you get to a certain groove and you're hitting that just right, and it gets up to a certain level, that's when like the lyrics kick in and they're very cool. And like I was playing it at a pretty decent volume in here, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And I was like, you know what? What if I turned it up? What if I just turned it up? So I like turned it up like really loud, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool. Having a lot of fun doing that. So I recommend that, or at least playing with headphones on, so you can have it good and loud if you do end up playing it. But anyway, recommend it. I don't know how much more I want to play of it, but it is a cool game.
Yeah, all right, that's awesome. Yeah, I was trying to get to that. I was trying to also get to High on Life. I've been
I want to
that
play
just
that too.
that's been that just dropped on Game Pass, and that is that's the first person game that's done by one of the creators of Rick and Morty. So I was really curious about it, but I'm just fortunately, like I said, uh, family comes first, right? So I'll hopefully
It's
get to that in the up and coming week.
I think it's been getting like really good reviews. What I saw that when it first came out, it was getting some pretty good reviews. And it looks weird and interesting, that's for sure. So maybe I'll get to play that and we can talk about it next time.
Yeah, let's hope. All right, and I guess so now, what have you been watching, sir?
Well, I it's been out for a little while now, but I finished up the Netflix show called Wednesday about Wednesday Adams from the Adams family of old. Um, this show, have you heard of this show? Have you seen any of this show at all, or do you know anything about it?
All it is that the Adams Family is Wednesday, and that's about all I know about it. It's her day to day going to school, going to a new school, and I actually never liked the Adams Family. It was never that great of a TV show. The
Yeah,
movie, I can care less. So that's why I wasn't that keen on it. I'm like, I'm not against it. I'm not like, but at the same time, it's just never had that interest in me. So,
Adam's Family Values was a pretty good movie. But anyway, so this Netflix show is
so the
pretty.
sequel you're saying was better than the first. Okay, that's a
That's
interesting
pretty.
take.
That's pretty well. I think that's pretty much 100% of the people on Earth agree that Adam's Family Values is better than the original first Adam's Family movie. I think that is a standard take. Do you challenge that, sir?
I don't remember the second one at all. Is that because the first one was with the guy Doc Brown being Uncle Fester, the long
No.
lost.
Well, I know Doc Brown was the second one. Wasn't the second one?
Was that the whole marriage bit? Like the whole
Yes.
con of trying to. Okay, then that's the only one I remember. Okay,
See,
so
and
there you
that's
go.
the reason because
It was also the last one I saw. So
yeah,
there you go
because
too.
the first one no one remembers because it wasn't anything special. Um, anyway, so this this Wednesday show. It's from Netflix. It feels like a very well done CW show. It feels like a very well done teen drama CW show. Um, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun. The first episode's very funny. They get a lot of good like morbid, morose type jokes in there that are really nice. Um, but I did figure out who the bad guys were in the first episode because I've seen a TV show before. So if you so you know, not to spoil it, but if you're watching it, I don't know. I guess I didn't have to say that. I just wanted to brag. Uh, but I was like, that person's the bad guy, and that person's the bad guy, and then, but I didn't really figure out anything more than that. They did a good job of like confusing me on one of the people a little bit. I actually kind of switched a little bit. I was like, maybe it is this other person, and then I was like, wait, no, I understand what's going on here. Anyway, it's pretty fun. It's pretty dumb in places, but it moves quickly, and it's actually pretty good. So I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good. A good time waster, and yeah. So I don't know. I give it like a 7 out of 10, something like that. But it was it was good. It was fine. There's definitely some parts that I didn't really care for. Being able to figure it out was one of those things. You know, figured out so easily was one of those things. Um, but yeah, if you want to watch it, I guess go ahead.
So, yeah, just speaking about good time waster on Netflix, I had to find a random thing to show my kids just because I was tired of watching the same batch of stuff over and over again.
Dang.
And I went ahead and showed them. I discovered this oddly animated thing, and I'm like, it kind of reminded me of Domo. I don't know if you've ever seen Domo-kun, but yeah, it's called Puyo Puyo Molcar, and it is bizarre to say the least. They're little shorts that are they look like they're little crocheted, like knit uh, guinea pigs that are cars,
Yeah.
like their legs are wheels, and it is it's Japanese. It's all done like no actual words. It's all done through noise and animation. Character, the way the characters act, and yeah, it's a stupid little show, but it is really funny, and man, did it keep my kids entertained. They just stopped in the middle of what they're doing just to stare. uh, and it has some really funny bits in it. So it's just like, all right, it's only like a handful of episodes. Each episode has a couple little skits in there, and yeah, it was just it was perfect for a. It's like, hey, quick, kids, look here. Yeah,
Be
focus on
distracted.
that.
Be distracted while your dad does something else, like cook dinner.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. It's exactly what it was. It was like, yep, I need you guys not to run into the kitchen or go down the stairs. You know.
That's all it
So
needs to be. Yeah.
yeah, and
That's cool.
outside of that, I've been watching a bunch of new anime. There's so much stuff that's not, I can't necessarily say good stuff, but there's a lot of stuff out there. There's quite a bit of solid things out as
Anything you want
well.
to mention here that is not good enough to mention on the podcast that we do?
Well, so we've been following up on it lately. So now we do have a new podcast focused entirely on anime, hosted by Nick,
Oh yeah,
and that is another damn anime podcast.
dude. It'd been
Uh,
so funny if you were like, "Yeah, that near show." It's just like shit on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, we did we're following near Automata
Oh
as it
yeah.
comes out. So we're trying to do a very quick turnaround episode. So the day it comes out, we try to record something that evening, and we'll try to our thoughts on that. Uh, but yeah, there's just I don't know. It's just a bajillion things out there right now. There's so many season twos of things that I would have never thought a season two would have come out on.
Yeah.
Like Fruits of Evolution 2. That is a weird. The first one. came out just not that long ago, like not last season, but the season before, and it reminded me of like a early 2000s anime. It was very slapstick, as in like comedy wise. It just felt very off. It's just like this feels like if someone unearthed an old anime. The quality seems kind of funky. It's okay, but it was just like, yeah, just seems really out of place in now in current times. And now there's a season 2 that just started. I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." I would have never thought they would actually someone financially back this for a season 2? I mean, it's okay, but there's I don't know, it must have made money for them to actually go ahead and produce a 2nd season. So, uh, yeah, there's so many just odd, small things coming out. Uh, there's, we'll talk about it more in depth on the other podcast, but the Ice Blade Sorcerer shall rule the world. This one, I really like the manga. Uh, it's very interesting looking. It's the quality is not it's like it doesn't follow the standard manga art style, and I really think that this anime is mediocre as anything. So that's
Yeah.
the but I'll go in depth. I'll really go in depth and waste more time on the other podcast about this one. But it's just, I think it's the average consensus that I saw was, hey, this is this looks pretty average, but everyone seem to be okay with that, and like let's hunker down to see what this is because it's essentially a school of magic and traditional tropes all around.
Lots.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I did have a chance to peek into that. So I'm looking forward to talking about it more on the other podcast. But yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of anime coming out. And it's not I don't know too much, but it seems like it's shaping up to be an okay season. Maybe not the best ever, but some okay stuff at least.
it is sure a full season. That I feel like this has more to it for some reason than I feel like the other ones had as far as things of note, I guess is the best way to put it. But
Okay.
um, no, I wish I could do the auctioneer voice because I feel that that's the best way to read this current list of potentially good things.
Yeah.
There's there's kind of all over the place. If you're into if you're into anime about fantasy life, and if you're a foodie, then campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. Been reading this one for years, and it's just like at first it seems like a normal adventure, and then everything else is like, no, this is literally all about cooking. This is all this person like this person just wanted an excuse to get paid to just talk about food, and good on them. I feel like that started almost started another genre in that because shortly after that I felt like a lot more fantasy um, manga were covering food as well and having to do more about that. I'm
Like
like, oh, you're just copying them.
like
That's
a
how it is.
fantasy culinary manga genre doesn't already
Yeah,
exist.
I mean,
I'm
you
sure,
got
yeah.
it's it's it how was it? There was a different anime that just that did a good job about talking about tax write-offs,
Yeah.
and for because it was they were a mangaka or a manga artist,
Yeah.
and so they're saying, yeah, you can claim your Hokkaido business trip and all the expensive Hokkaido food as references if you put it in your work. So I feel like ever since I watched that, I'm like, that's all they want to do. They're trying to find that loophole, you know. It's like if I buy this, I can use it as and I use it, I can use it as a tax write-off. But there's just all sorts of really neat
That's
stuff, and
that's what
hopefully, but it's all so early that it's really hard to say where things fall because you're looking at episode 1 and 2 of everything. So hopefully by next podcast, we're talking about episode 3 and 4, so I can at least filter a little bit of this here and just give like what I think is maybe the cream of the crop.
right, yeah.
Um, because yeah, this it's kind of hard to we're talking about like a couple dozen anime, you know, that are out now.
Yeah,
So
there's a
and
lot.
this is all pretty much in the sub format. So
Yeah.
it's as far as English dubbing, who knows what's going to come out there. So
I'm proud of you for watching a lot of subs. That's
dude,
good.
I've been watching a subbed anime before you even got back into it.
But
Yeah, so
okay, okay. No need to like shit on everybody all the time.
Not everybody,
But
just you.
you are always like, "Oh, I prefer to watch dub, and I don't really know if I wanna watch it if
Yeah,
it's
because I like to
sub,
be
I'll
able
catch up
to
with it later." So what I was
feed my
saying is
kids
that
and
I'm
pay attention.
glad that you have decided to watch some sub because usually you just don't. You're like, "Well, I'll just wait for the dub to come out, and I'll wait 10
Well,
years for
it's
the dub to
easy
come
because I've
out."
read all the manga for these ones. That's the thing. It's a matter of paying attention, and so
I'm dubious
when
about
you have to
that.
multitask, you don't necessarily want to be able to have to focus on reading, and you have to focus on other things, you
So,
know?
if you've already read the manga, then then subs are okay, but if you haven't read the manga,
It's easier is what I'm saying
because
because
you
I
already
already
know the
know the general
story,
gist of the storyline, and that my Japanese level can easily fill in
the
fill in what is
blanks.
going on, and if there's a few things that are missing, well, I already know the base plot anyway,
You
so
already know what's going. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, do you watch subs while you're doing other stuff? If
no, it's like, for example, I won't do a sub anime while I'm playing a second game, like, on hand, but
yeah,
I'll do
okay.
a dubbed anime while I'm, say, like, playing something like Vampire Survivors.
Yeah,
That was an easy thing to do.
yeah, that
Uh,
makes sense.
if I can multitask that way, or if it's something that I don't yeah, it's dubbed that I'm not necessarily needing to be visually, like, looking at all the time, if it's not like a hardcore action or something like that, I can maybe kinda have it on the side while I'm cooking, and then I'll have so that's easy enough for me to do, or feeding the kids. But if I'm gonna have to pay attention to something that's really, plot heavy, and I'm like, "No, dude, I can't. I have to undivided attention for sure."
Yeah,
So,
that is definitely true. Cool, man. Well, yeah. So we'll be talking about anime on another damn anime podcast coming up here in a minute.
yeah, alright then. Well, other than that, we are set in stone here. Hopefully Nick will, have some good stories to tell by next week. Um, you know, maybe he'll be brave enough to show you all his mouse pad by then. That's not a euphemism, it's just the actual mouse pad. Uh, he'll have it with his,
I'll
figurine collection in the background
I
too.
will have a lot
So,
of nerd
his
rage built
shrine.
up. I'll have a lot of nerd rage built up by next time. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah. Alright then. Well, thanks guys for making it to the end. And this has been, ADP, Another Dead Pixel, episode 35. Thanks a lot, guys. Till next time. Take it
Thank
easy.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.